Hey everybody, in today's video we're going to be setting up the Purple Martin Bird's Choice Watersedge house. This is the PMW2. Not sure how well you'll see this. Made in the USA. PMW2 is Watersedge and it is 2 levels is what I've got. You can get as many levels as you want. You can add on levels later. I'm putting this in a backyard, so I wanted something relatively small that looks decent, so I went with the 2 level. I wanted to show you what the box looks like. We're going to go step by step. We're going to set up this Purple Martin house or assemble it. So the first thing I recommend doing is taking everything out of the box. Make sure you've got all of the pieces before you start getting into the assembly. The other thing that's nice is I like to take all of my hardware screws, put them in little containers versus pulling them out of the bags. It's going to make it a lot easier when we get into that. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking this stuff out, get it set up, and then, or get it out of the box at least, and then we'll start going through the setup. To me, this is the most important piece. Before I would start doing any assembly, if you don't know what pole you're going to be using to mount it, don't do anything. Just grab this piece, go to your local hardware store. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not looking to use the Bird's Choice pole system. I'll go to my local hardware store, but it's nice to have this piece separate to where I can just walk in, find a pole that it fits ideally, versus having the whole house assembled and you have to walk in with the house and try and get it. I think it's a 1 1/4 inch inside diameter on this flange. But again, I'm just going to walk into the hardware store, see what I can find. In case you're curious, the way I'm going to mount mine is you basically have your base plate here. Went to the local hardware store and I picked up a 1 1/4 inch pole, and then I picked up this piece of coupling for about $3. And all I'm going to do, I'm not going to use the inside diameter. I was hoping I would find a pole that would go perfectly inside here. The 1 inch pole was pretty close. There's a little bit of movement here. I'm basically going to use this piece of coupling, put it here, put my 1 1/4 inch pole through the other side, and then I'm going to simply tighten this on, and I'm going to use the coupling to hold the birdhouse to the pole. So as you start going through your items, you're going to start freaking out thinking that they didn't give you an instruction manual. I wanted to show you at least where mine was. Basically, they have these 2 parts together. They've got your perches in here, your roof pieces, and then under here is our instruction manual. So they kind of had it hidden from me, but they did include an instruction manual. So if that's where if you're looking for yours, check there. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want to get our tools ready. In the instructions, it says that we're going to need a 5/16 wrench, we're going to need a Phillips screwdriver, and we're going to need pliers or an adjustable wrench. I'm going to go ahead and grab these first. I do have the Phillips screwdriver, got a 5/16 wrench, and then I've got a 5/16 socket. And I've got my toolbox right here if we need anything else. Let's go ahead and go to step 1. All right, our first step is going to involve 3 pieces. You've got your floor, you've got one of your dividers, your galvanized divider, and then you're going to have your base that you're going to have on the bottom. You want to make sure you've got that base on the bottom, because if you forget that, it's going to be a pain trying to do it from the inside. We're going to be using 2 screws and 2 nuts. Your nuts, you always want this plastic piece facing out. When you look at your nuts, you've got 2 sides. You've got a metal side, and then you've got a white plastic side. In every step, that white plastic side will always face to the outside of the house, not the inside. The metal part will be on the inside. So all I've done here is I've got my base plate. We're not going to over tighten the screws. We're just going to get them snug to where they hold. I've got my base plate. That screw is going through this galvanized piece that is stamped A with the A on top. You want the A on top because you have to have your divider part up top versus in the bottom. The bottom, you have a vent hole, and then you've got your floor, and you want to make sure your floor is set up so that the part that says up is facing to the top. You'll know because your lip should be at the bottom. So that's our first step. Let's move on to the second step. All right, the next step is we're going to take our other galvanized floor. You'll notice that this one has 2 holes in it, and you'll notice there's a slot going down. We're going to use that slot to go right through the slot of the previous divider that we put down. So we're going to simply slide it down, And then we have two holes, a hole on this side and a hole on the back of this side that we need to put a screw through. That screw needs to go through the bottom of our birdhouse as well as through the mounting plate on the bottom. We're going to put those two screws in. Once those two screws are in and the nuts, we're going to go ahead and tighten all four of them on the bottom. We can tighten them at this point. Alright, so at this point we have our mounting plate mounted to the floor. We have a divider and then a divider with holes going through. The next thing we need to do is we need to get one of our side panels. It's this white side panel. What you're looking for is the side that says up. We're going to attach it to the side of our divider down here. You've got two holes on the bottom that we're going to line up with the holes on our floor, and then you've got a hole through the center that we're going to screw into the center. We're going to use 3 screws here. 2 screws and 2 nuts through the bottom, 1 screw and 1 nut through here. All right, so we've got that done. I wanted to mention, I kind of changed it up a little bit here. It says in the directions that the white plastic part of the nut should always be facing out, but I didn't put that on this side. I did the screw facing out on the side with the nut on the inside. To me, it just made more sense. It really didn't say anything in the directions about which way to do that, but that's the route I went. Kind of scratched up my house because I started it the wrong way. So you do it however you want. Looking at the picture on the box, though, it looks like the screw is to the outside, not the nut. So that's what I went with. I don't think it's going to matter either way, but I just wanted to let you know how I did it. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to repeat the exact same step, except on the other side of the house. So I'm going to turn this around. We're going to find our other outside piece. Again, we want to look at the part that says stamped up. We're going to put it down. We're going to use 3 screws, 3 nuts, and we're going to mount it to this side. Again, remember how you did it before. So I'm going to be putting my screw to the outside here with the nut on the inside, but then on the bottoms, I'm going to put the screw down with the nut on the bottom side with the white plastic piece facing out. All right, so at this point, we basically have our first floor done. What we're going to do is we're going to grab the other floor. In my case, I've only got 2 of these. Now, you might have to repeat this step several times depending on how many different levels you did. But I'm going to look for the marking just like we did before, where this is facing up. I'm going to sit this on top, and we're basically going to repeat everything we just did. So I'm going to line that up, screw it down. I'm going to take my 2 floor dividers, and I'm going to do the exact same thing we did with those. I'm going to put the A side up, screw it down. The weird thing with mine is it came with the second one, but on this floor, for whatever reason, it is painted white versus the galvanized metal like it was on the first floor. So I don't know if that was a mistake on Bird's choice or why they did it that way, but I'm going to be doing the same thing with this one. We're going to be screwing this down to our first level. So this is really important. I want to make sure everybody understands what I just did and what we're going to be doing with this piece. When we do this, your screw should be going through 3 pieces. It should be going through the hole on your floor divider, then it should be going through the floor, then it should be going through the divider on the floor underneath it. So that screw is securing those 3 pieces all together. So when you're going through here, make sure you're not just going through your divider and your floor. You also want to make sure you're hitting the divider on the bottom, the first floor of the house. All right, so now I've got my second level floor down, and I've got the two dividers, the galvanized one with no holes and the one with holes. Again, in my case, it was painted. I'm not sure if yours will be the same way. The other thing I wanted to mention is if you look at your house, you can see my two holes are going this direction. That should be the same as what was going on the bottom floor. Everything should match up, should be identical to what you did on the bottom floor. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tighten my screws. All right, so I just made one, hopefully not huge mistake, but something that we need to fix. We've got to put these side dividers on, and unfortunately, I've already used the holes here, securing my roof down. What I should have done is put the side dividers on, then put these screws on the sides through. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna back those out. I'm gonna put this down. We're gonna run the screws through the side and the roof and the side on the bottom floor. All right, so I've got my screws out. Let's do this the right way. I wanted to mention, don't worry too much about it. As long as you're going with the plastic part of the screw down, if this screw is going through, it's not going to damage this plastic part. So you can see I just took these out. There's nothing wrong with them. Had you gone with the screw into the plastic, I think you would damage that screw. So as long as you've got your screw going in from the top, as they say, with the plastic always down, you can always back these out and fix something if you mess up like I just did. So let's do it the right way. Let's get those side panels on. Then we'll do the screw all the way through. Side panel, the floor, and the bottom side panel. Just a reminder, on these side panels, you have 3 screws. You have 2, one on the inside here, one on the inside on the other side, and then you have one on the side that's going to be connected to this divider plate on the inside. All right, so again, I've only got a 2 level, so I'm kind of done with the sides and the inside. I'm ready to put my ceiling plate on. If you've got multi-levels, you're going to repeat the same steps we've done and add as many floors as you have. What we're going to do is we're going to take our ceiling plate. Again, it's stamped. You've got it up, and then you've got a side that looks like that. You're going to want to put this side up. You've got 8 different screws and nuts you're going to need to put through. 2 here, 2 on the sides, 4 on the inside. It's going to simply match up to each of those holes. So let's go ahead and put our screws in. All right, so the next thing we're going to be doing is our rail clips. If you look at your birdhouse, you've got some holes over here on the side. You've got one here, one there, and then at the bottom, you've got one. You've got the same thing on both sides for every level that you've got. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking one of these clips, a screw, and a nut, and we're going to simply run it through the bottom here. Now, we don't want to over tighten this, but we're basically going to put a screw through, nut on the other side, and then once we get it set up, we're going to turn this because we want our rail going up at the top here. The reason you don't want to tighten it is because you want to tighten it once you've got it turned. If not, you're going to end up scratching all the paint on your birdhouse. So let's go ahead and let's put 4 on this side. We'll turn it over and do 4 on the other side. All right, so we've got our clips for our perch rails set up. Now this is kind of up to you. Some people want to put the perch rails on first, then tighten the screws. In my case, I think I'm just going to go ahead and tighten the screws. Looks like it's pretty straight, and then I'm going to put my perch rails on at the end. You've got multiple different perch rails that come with this. You've got 4 that are kind of a longer size. Those are going to be for what we just did here, the sides. They're going to go the full length of the long side of the house. Then you've also got some shorter ones. Those are going to be going around the front of the house where the doors are. We're going to be putting those clips on here in a second. You've got one really long perch. That's going to be for the roof. So let's go ahead. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tighten up my clips, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the clips on the front. So if we look at the front here, you've got 2 holes on each side for each level of the house you've got. We're going to do the exact same thing. We need clips put here. Again, that's going to be for the small perches. I'm going to go ahead and tighten my clips that we just did, put in my clips for the side, and then I'm going to put the perches on at the very end. All right, so we kind of have the bottom of our house done at this point. We're going to go ahead and move this off. We need to assemble the roof. You basically have this roof piece, and then you have 2 pieces that look like this. What we're going to want to do is where this bent part is up top, we're going to put it to the inside. You don't want your roof like that. You want the bent part to the inside, like so. And then you have 4 holes on each side. You have 2 out here on the outside, 2 in the middle. What we're going to do is we're going to put 1 screw and nut through one of these holes in the middle, tighten it up, and then we're going to do the 2 on the end. We're going to leave one of the holes here without a screw in it. We're going to do that after we do the other 3 because we need to put a roof clip on there. All right, so I've got 6 of the screws in. I didn't tighten them very tight at all. They're just enough to secure it. What we need to do now is we need to put 2 clips for our roof. You should have 2 open holes. Hopefully they're on the same side. And we're basically gonna be putting down a perch clip, putting a screw through, and then we're gonna make sure and put a nut. You wanna make sure you're going through the roof as well as this piece in the middle. It should go through both holes, come out the other side of your roof bracket. All right, now I've got 8 screws in, and I have 2 roof clips on the same side. Everything looks good. Let's go ahead and tighten up all 8 of these screws. All right, you should have everything tight at this point. We should have a roof piece and we should have our house piece. This is the last chance to tighten up any of these screws on the top of your house. So make sure you've got those things tight because once you put the roof on, you don't want to have to take it off to do anything. We're going to turn the house upside down, or not, I shouldn't say upside down, facing upright, and then we're going to take our roof and we're going to sit it on top. What we're looking for here is you have some holes on your roof. You should have 2 on each side. And we're gonna need to line those up with the holes on this house. I'm gonna try and show you guys. Because what we're gonna be doing is screwing the roof in using 4 screws right here. All right, everybody, we have our roof assembled. We're almost there. We've got a couple more steps to do. These are basically going to be our door panels. The only thing here is you want to make sure you've got opposite panels. So you can see I've got an opening here, and then I've got an opening here on the right-hand side. So I'm going to put those together on the same side of a house. What we're going to do is we're going to basically keep them open. You don't want to close them, and you're going to be lining it up with these holes here on the side. So I'm going to simply slide this in while it's on, and I'm going to use the screw and a nut, and I'm going to put the doors on. You don't want to over tighten the doors. You want them to be snug, but if you get it too tight, it's going to make it hard for you to open and close the doors, and we don't want that. So we've got 4 doors here that we need to do, 8 total screws. We're going to go ahead and we're going to screw in our doors. All right, so this part's really more of personal preference. How tight do you want to get your doors is up to you. I did want to mention that you want to make sure that when they close, they go into this little lip here. So mine are pretty loose, as you can see. But the main thing is I need to be able to push it in that little lip on the floor, because that's going to be what keeps your door closed. I've got this side done. My doors look pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. What I like to do is pay attention to where your doors are. So I've got one on the right and on the left. When I turn it over, that's going to flip. So I've got one over here on the other side and over here on this side. You can kind of set up your doors how you want. If I wanted to do it the same way on this side, I would do it like that. I'm actually going to mix it up a little bit. So because I've got a door on that side, on the top on this side, I'm going to put a door over here. Doesn't really matter, but what it does is it keeps it to where none of the birds are backing up to each other in the house. That's just my preference. Let's go ahead and attach our last 2 doors. All right, we are done. A couple of things to mention. The only thing I have left is to put my purchase in. I went ahead and put one of them in. They simply just snap into place. You can take them out if you want to. I actually recommend trying not to, because what's going to happen is it's going to scratch up your paint. The shorter perches go to the side where the doors are. Your longer perches are going to go along the side where there's no doors, and then your longest perch is going to go on the top of the house. A couple of other things I've mentioned. You've got some extra pieces, so if you drop a piece, something like that, don't freak out. You're going to end up with some extra screws and nuts. It was nice that Bird's Choice did that. The other thing is, if you figure out that you did something wrong, you can always go back out the pieces and unassemble or change or fix something. I hope, if nothing else, this gave you an idea of what the assembly is like for the Bird's Choice Watersedge. Bird's Choice does offer assembly. You can pay extra to have them assemble it and mail it to you assembled. I actually think it's kind of fun assembling it myself. I hope the video helped. All we have to do now is put it outside, mount it to our pole, and hope we get some martins. If the video helped, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. Maybe you'll subscribe to my channel. All I do is birding items and birds, so I hope you'll think about subscribing. Thanks for watching.